All right, welcome to our explainer. Today we are diving deep, and I mean literally deep, into the hidden life of a lake. We're going to explore this really dramatic seasonal cycle that affects everything from where the fish are swimming to the actual color and, yeah, even the smell of the water.
So you know that feeling, right? You jump in a lake and the surface is nice and warm, but then you let your feet dangle down and whoa, it's suddenly ice cold. Well, that strange feeling, it's not just in your head. It's actually the key to understanding this super powerful natural cycle that's happening in lakes all over the world.
So, here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at a lake's hidden layers. Then we'll see how that creates a totally divided world during the summer. After that, get ready for the great seasonal flip, when everything gets turned upside down. We'll touch on the consequences of that mix, and finally, how all this science helps us manage a living, breathing lake.
Okay, so it all kicks off with the sun. Its energy does way more than just give you a nice tan by the water. It actually triggers a process that splits the entire lake into these really distinct layers, creating completely separate worlds right there under the surface.
And this process has a name. It's called stratification. It really just comes down to basic physics, you know? Warm water is lighter, it's less dense than cold water. So what does it do? It floats. And that simple little fact is what stops a lake from just being one big uniform bathtub of water during the warmer months.
What you end up with are three totally different neighborhoods inside the lake. Up top, you've got the epilimnion. Think of it like the sunny penthouse suite. It's warm, it's got plenty of oxygen. Then there's the thermocline. That's the middle zone where the temperature just plummets. And way down at the bottom, you get the hypolimnion, the cold, dark, and pretty much oxygen-free basement.
Now, once these layers really set up in the summer, they're not just different temperature zones anymore. They act like these invisible walls, these physical barriers that prevent any mixing between the top and the bottom. And that, well, that has some pretty serious consequences for everything trying to live in the lake.
And the difference between these zones is, well, it's like night and day. The surface is this awesome home for most aquatic life. It's warm, it's sunny, it's packed with oxygen. But the deep water? That's a whole different story. It's totally cut off from the air, so bacteria at the bottom just chew through all the available oxygen, eventually turning it into this barren, uninhabitable zone.
This whole division thing creates a huge problem for the fish. The surface can get way too hot for them, but the bottom has zero oxygen. So what happens? They get squeezed into that super narrow middle layer, the thermocline. It's often the only place they can find that perfect combo of the right temperature and enough oxygen to actually breathe.
Meanwhile, there's another, sneakier problem brewing down in the dark hypolimnion. See, as the oxygen vanishes, a chemical reaction starts to happen in the sediment at the lake bottom. Phosphorus, which was safely locked away, begins to leak back into the water. And it just builds and builds and builds all summer long, kind of like a ticking time bomb.
But of course, these separate worlds can't last forever. As the seasons change and the air starts to cool, the lake gets ready for this massive top-to-bottom mixing event that completely resets the entire system. It's pretty dramatic.
This event is called turnover. What happens is the warm surface water starts to cool down. As it cools, it gets heavier and denser, and it starts to sink. This forces all that deep water to come rushing up. Those barriers we talked about, they completely break down, and for the first time in months, the entire lake mixes. You can almost think of it as the lake taking one giant, deep breath.
And this whole thing happens like clockwork, usually twice a year. You get a turnover in the fall when the weather cools down, and you get another one in the spring, right after the ice melts and before the sun gets strong enough to set up those layers all over again for the summer.
So why does this seasonal flip matter so much? Well, it turns out it's both a blessing and a curse. Because when that lake finally mixes, it unleashes everything that was trapped down at the bottom all summer. And this is really the moment of truth. On the good side, vital oxygen finally gets circulated back down to the depths, making that whole area habitable again. Awesome. But on the bad side, remember that nutrient time bomb? Well, it just went off. All of that trapped phosphorus gets brought right up to the sunny surface, which is basically an all-you-can-eat buffet for algae. This can trigger huge algae blooms, make the water all cloudy, and even release some pretty funky smells from trapped gases. So if you've ever lived near a lake and noticed a sudden, crazy change in the fall or spring, like maybe the water gets murky overnight or a nasty algae bloom just appears out of nowhere, this powerful, invisible process is almost definitely what's going on. And this brings us to our final and maybe most important point. Understanding this natural cycle isn't just a cool science lesson. Nope, it is absolutely essential if we want to keep our lakes healthy.
Think about it. For the people who manage our lakes, this whole cycle means they can't just treat the lake as one big static swimming pool. They're dealing with a constantly moving target, where the conditions up top are completely different from the bottom, and the entire system gets flipped upside down twice a year.
But this knowledge is power. It allows them to be proactive. At a place like Canyon Lake, for example, they track temperature and oxygen so they can predict exactly when turnover is going to happen. During the summer, those layers can actually block some treatments from getting to the nutrient problem at the bottom. But right after turnover, when everything is all mixed up, that's their window. They can apply targeted treatments to the surface to get a handle on the algae bloom that's sure to follow.
Ultimately, what stratification and turnover really show us is that a lake isn't just some static pond. It's this complex, dynamic, living system. It has layers, it has a powerful internal rhythm, and it's constantly in motion, always changing with the seasons.
So, the next time you're by a lake, whether you're swimming or fishing or just taking in the view, remember that invisible drama that's happening just beneath the surface. I guarantee you'll have a much deeper appreciation for its hidden, two-faced life.